So picture this. You're just casually scrolling your phone, right?
Like we all do, yeah.
Exactly. And suddenly you see it. Bright red swimsuits, lots of sand, and these incredibly attractive people just running in slow motion down a sunny beach in Marina del Rey.
It's basically a digital vacation for your brain.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Instantly, your brain happily switches off. But if you stop and look just a little bit closer at what's actually on your screen.
Which is hard to do when you're just endlessly swiping.
Right, but if you do, if you look past the beach to the corporate logo sort of hovering on the edges, or check the specific photo credits, and you read the surrounding text on the page, you realize you aren't looking at pure mindlessness at all.
No, not even a little bit. You're looking at a Trojan horse.
Exactly. Which brings us to the mission of today's deep dive. We are examining a single web page from the entertainment news site Deadline, specifically dated March 25, 2026.
And on the absolute surface, I mean, it is a fluffy, disposable gallery of set photos. It's for the new Fox Baywatch series.
Directed by McGettigy. Right.
Yeah, directed by McGaw. But as we're going to see today, this single page is actually this perfectly preserved time capsule.
It's wild how much is hiding in plain sight here.
It really is a masterclass in modern corporate strategy, just hiding inside a bathing suit. By looking at who is in these photos, where the photos originated, and the other headlines dominating that exact same page.
We can basically map out this highly anxious, rapidly shifting entertainment industry.
Right, so if you're out there wondering why every single show popping up on your feed lately feels like a reboot, or why influencers are suddenly headlining major network dramas.
This one web page provides the entire blueprint for that.
It does. We are looking at an industry desperately trying to navigate influencer culture, massive corporate consolidation, and the underlying economics of nostalgia.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I think we need to start with the people actually standing on that beach.
The casting.
Right, the casting. Fox put out an open casting call in Marina del Rey. And the ensemble they ended up with is, well, it requires a serious double take.
Because it completely shatters the traditional concept of an ensemble cast, really.
It totally does.
Yeah.
Let's look at the roster here. First, you have Stephen Amell,
Right, playing the adult version of Hobie Buchanan.
which is the character Jeremy Jackson played as a kid in the original series, so there's that connection.
Yeah, the solid anchor.
And then you have a pure legacy play. David Chukachi is back, reprising his original role as Cody Madison.
A direct tie to the 90s era.
Exactly. But then you look down the rest of the call sheet, and it is just a tidal wave of modern social media and athlete crossover stars.
It's a huge shift.
I mean, you have Libby Dunn, Noah Beck, Brooks Nader.
Huge digital followings.
Right. And they are lining up alongside Shay Mitchell, Hassie Harrison, Jessica Belkin, Sadius Lagrone, Ashley Moore, and Luke Eisner.
It's fascinating. Because when you lay those names out side by side, you are looking at very different eras.
Yeah.
And honestly, completely different definitions of what a celebrity actually is today.
I was thinking about this, and it's less like casting a television show and more like a studio building a diversified financial portfolio.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. Think about the demographics here. You have Chokachi locking in the nostalgic swing voters, the people who just missed the 1990s.
The original fans.
Yeah. Then Amell secures the reliable, traditional TV drama base, people who follow him through years of superhero shows and wrestling dramas.
Right, he brings that built-in CW and cable audience.
But then Livy Dunn and Noah Beck. That is a massive digital ground game to instantly capture Gen Z.
An audience that, frankly, might not even own a traditional television set.
Exactly.
What's fascinating here is how this shows the fundamental shift in the economics of television.
How do you mean?
Well, 10 or 15 years ago, a network cast a show based on screen tests, right?
Yeah.
Chemistry reads, traditional acting resumes.
They wanted the best actors for the parts.
Right. They built a great show and then spent millions of dollars hoping the audience would show up to watch it. But today, the audience is cast alongside the actor.
Oh, wow. Yeah. When Fox hires Livy Dunn, they aren't just hiring an actress. They are acquiring a distribution platform.
Because of her followers.
Exactly. They are buying direct access to her millions of followers.
Wait, really? So they aren't even pretending. This is about finding the absolute best, classically trained actor for the job anymore.
I mean, they are optimizing for attention, which is a completely different metric than traditional acting chops.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
But what's really interesting is how the production actively tries to bridge that gap between the digital personalities and the traditional actors.
Yeah, I noticed that in the photos.
Right, look at the specific activities happening in these set photos. They aren't just posing glamorously in the sand.
No, they are actively doing CPR training.
Yes.
You have a photo of Noah Beck and Stephen Amell working on a dummy together, and the article specifically noted that Brooks Nader learned CPR for the role.
Right.
Plus, we see Jessica Belkin in the middle of training too.
So consider the mechanism of why those specific images are pushed to the public.
Okay.
It serves a dual purpose. For the traditional TV audience, seeing influencers doing the gritty, physical, real work of a Hollywood production validates them.
It says take them seriously, they're putting in the effort.
Exactly. And for the TikTok generation, it grounds these digital-first personalities in a premium legacy environment. It's mutual validation playing out in real time.
That is so calculated. Which actually brings up a massive shift in how this validation reaches us.
Because of where the photos are coming from.
Right, because we aren't looking at glossy, studio-sanctioned promotional posters in this Deadline article.
No, not at all.
We aren't looking at high-res images shot by a hired unit photographer with, a perfect lighting rig. The aesthetic is entirely different.
The aesthetic is raw, immediate, and deliberately unfiltered.
Yeah, let's look at the actual photo credits provided in the source. There's a shot of Livy Dunn and Hassie Harrison on set.
And the credit.
The credit is Livy Dunn/Instagram.
Then you have a group shot with Ashley Moore, Dunn, Beck, Belkin, and Eisner. The credit there. Also, Livy Dunn/Instagram.
It's all coming from their personal accounts.
It really is. A solo shot of Shay Mitchell, sourced directly from Shay Mitchell's Instagram. And it just goes on and on. Brooks Nader, Noah Beck, Jessica Belkin, they're all the primary sources for these images.
They are acting as the official feed.
Shay Mitchell is even credited for a picture of the lifeguard trucks. And there's literally a picture of a random construction crane parked outside the lifeguard headquarters, and Deadline pulled it from Jessica Belkin's Instagram.
Honestly, the construction crane really gives the game away.
How so?
It's mundane. It's a behind-the-scenes reality that a traditional marketing department would normally just crop out or ignore.
See, I have to push back here, though.
Okay.
Relying on an influencer's Instagram for your first look, it doesn't seem like a brilliant strategy to me. It seems lazy. Yeah. I mean, Fox is a multi-billion-dollar company. By making the actors act as their own paparazzi and their own PR machines before the show even airs, aren't they just cheaping out on a real marketing budget?
I can see why you'd think that.
They are completely surrendering brand control to whatever filter Noah Beck decides to use that day.
It's easy to view it as the studio just extracting free labor from their cast, sure, but the underlying dynamic is actually much more sophisticated.
Okay, I'm listening.
Consider the alternative. If Fox spends $5 million on billboards and heavily polished TV spots, who actually sees them?
People driving, maybe.
Right, but we live in a highly fragmented media landscape. Nobody is watching the same commercials at the same time anymore.
That's true.
Traditional marketing is bleeding efficiency. So to cut through the noise today, a studio relies on the parasocial relationships, that direct-to-consumer trust that these stars have already built.
So it's about authenticity. Or, well, at least the illusion of it.
Exactly. When a network releases a slick trailer, the viewer's guard naturally goes up. It's an advertisement and you know it.
Right.
But when Livy Dunn posts a blurry selfie in a red swimsuit from the beach, it bypasses that filter.
It feels like an intimate update from a friend.
Yes. The studio is willfully sacrificing polished brand control in exchange for authentic engagement. They are bypassing the traditional media gatekeepers entirely and injecting the new show directly into the daily feeds of millions of potential viewers.
Wow.
By the time Fox actually cuts a traditional trailer, the audience is already invested. The making of the show has literally become the marketing of the show.
Okay, so we have this demographically weaponized cast.
Yeah.
And a marketing campaign entirely offloaded onto their personal smartphones.
Right.
But if Fox is betting the house on TikTokers doing chest compressions, why attach them to a 35-year-old brand like Baywatch?
Instead of just making a new show for them.
Exactly. Why not create a brand new show tailored specifically for that audience? The answer to that is sitting quietly in the margins of this exact same Deadline webpage.
And this is where we have to zoom out. We have to look at the broader ecosystem of March 25, 2026.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's run through the trending and must-read sidebars of the source.
Because they paint a very specific picture.
They really do. The level of nostalgia here isn't just a trend, it's a completely closed loop.
Yeah.
Right next to the Baywatch photos, there's a headline that A Different World is getting a sequel series.
Another classic show.
And they aren't just rebooting the name, they are bringing back the original stars. Dawn Lewis, Glenn Turman, and Tachina Arnold.
So they're leaning heavily on legacy cast members to anchor a new project.
Exactly.
Which is operating on the exact same mechanism as bringing back David Chokachi for Baywatch.
It's the exact same playbook.
Yeah.
And then you look further down, you have Bosch. Start of Watch announcing casting for Raphael Sparge, Seamus Daver, and Ryan McPartlin.
Also a known prop.
And it gets bigger than TV. Stephen Colbert is writing the next Lord of the Rings movie, based on a chapter called Fog on the Barrow Downs.
It's an entire industry doubling down on the familiar. But to understand why, you really have to look at the financial mechanics dictating these creative choices.
Right, let's look at the battle playing out at the box office versus television right now. You have a headline on this page celebrating a movie called Project Hail Mary.
A huge theatrical release.
Yeah, it's dominating its second week with $45 million, passing $100 million total at the box office. It's absolutely crushing an attempted rival film called They Will Kill You.
Now, contrast that massive theatrical requirement with the reality of mid-tier television on the same page.
So it's a bloodbath. Right below those massive box office numbers, there's a headline about a Scott Speedman drama called R.J. Decker.
A traditional original TV show.
Yeah, and it's being nervously shuffled around the schedule, moved to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays, while it basically waits on a season 2 renewal decision.
And this is the mechanism at play. Theatrical releases now require hundreds of millions of dollars just to break even on marketing and production.
The stakes are incredibly high.
And that financial pressure cannibalizes the promotional budgets for everything else. Mid-tier original TV shows like R.J. Decker. They're starved of resources and left to die quietly on Tuesday nights.
The margins for error have vanished.
Completely vanished.
And because the margins have vanished, you see these wild, desperate pivots to digital. Look at Jeopardy!
Oh, wait.
It's one of the most institutional, old-school television broadcasts in history. And they are launching a spin-off entirely on YouTube.
A legacy brand completely bypassing broadcast television to chase the digital audience where they actually live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of YouTube, there's a headline right near it about Mark Wahlberg. He's working out at 4 a.m. and challenging digital creators to pump iron with him on his YouTube channel.
It's totally inverted.
Right. You have Hollywood A-listers acting like YouTubers, while YouTubers are being cast in Baywatch. The walls have completely collapsed.
They really have. But hovering above all of this cultural churning, above the box office numbers, the CPR training photos, and the YouTube pivots, is the corporate reality dictating every single one of these decisions.
Yes. The biggest, most consequential headline on the entire page.
What does it say?
Warner Bros. Discovery sets a shareholder vote on a sale to Paramount.
That is the financial thundercloud hanging over the sunny beach in Marina del Rey.
When you step back and look at this entire board, the reliance on Baywatch makes absolute terrifying sense.
It really does. Because when massive, multi-billion-dollar conglomerates like WBD and Paramount are gearing up for a sale or a merger, they are carrying billions in debt.
Right.
To a shareholder or an acquiring board, a weird experimental indie drama looks like a massive financial liability.
It's a huge risk.
But a red swimsuit with an internationally recognized logo, that looks like a guaranteed quarterly return.
Wow. So if you are an executive whose corporate parent is about to be sold,
You are essentially paralyzed. Nobody wants to be the person who greenlit a $50 million original flop right before the shareholders vote on your job security.
so you play it safe.
You engage in risk mitigation in its absolute purest form. You greenlight a known property, and you hire people who come with 20 million guaranteed consumers already attached to their cell phones.
It's career preservation disguised as an entertainment strategy.
That's a perfect way to phrase it. And this raises an important question regarding the long-term health of the industry.
Which is?
Is this incredibly efficient, logical response to a turbulent corporate landscape actually hollowing out the creative foundation of Hollywood?
Oh man. Even the brief obituary noted on the deadline page feels oddly thematic in this context.
I was just thinking about that.
It mentions the passing of Chip Taylor at age 86. He was Angelina Jolie's uncle, But more importantly for this conversation, he was the songwriter of Wild Thing.
And Wild Thing was a massive, enduring cultural hit from the 1960s. Its inclusion on this page is just this quiet reminder of how deeply the modern industry relies on these timeless, recognizable hits.
These foundational wild things that were created decades ago.
Exactly. Art that can now be repackaged, covered, and replayed for generations.
So what does this all mean for you, listening at home? We started by looking at a simple gallery of Baywatch set photos.
Just a fun day at the beach.
Right. But as we've explored, that single Deadline article isn't about the sand and the surf. It is a masterclass in modern audience building.
It exposes the mechanics of the whole system.
It really does. It shows how studios utilize legacy IP to guarantee a baseline audience, how they completely blur the lines between traditional actors and digital influencers.
And how corporate debt and massive media mergers enforce a culture of playing it as safe as humanly possible.
Exactly.
I think the primary takeaway here is about your own media literacy in this environment.
That's the real key.
Yeah. The next time you are scrolling through your feed and you see a casual behind-the-scenes Instagram post from an actor,
Maybe they're learning a stunt, taking a blurry selfie by a craft services table.
or posing with a construction crane, you need to recognize the mechanism at work. It is very rarely just a spontaneous moment of sharing.
Right.
It is a highly calculated piece of a much larger corporate puzzle designed to capture your attention and monetize your parasocial loyalty long before the actual product ever hits a screen.
The Trojan horse is already inside the gates by the time you double tap the photo.
Precisely. But, taking all of this in leaves us with a much larger, somewhat unsettling cultural puzzle to solve.
What's that?
Well, if the current entertainment ecosystem relies almost entirely on rebooting the nostalgia of the 1990s and 2000s,
From reviving Baywatch to bringing back the cast of A Different World,
to writing new chapters of Lord of the Rings, what original cultural touchstones are we actually creating right now?
wow. If everything today is engineered to be a safe remix of yesterday, what exactly are they going to reboot 20 years from today?
That's the million-dollar question.
Are we just going to get a gritty reboot of the Baywatch reboot in 2046, starring the children of today's TikTokers?
It's a very real possibility if the financial models don't shift to allow for new creative risks.
That is a fascinating thought to mull over next time you're scrolling. Until then, the next time you see that bright red swimsuit flash past your eyes, just remember the immense, complicated corporate machinery humming just out of frame.
Always look at what's out of frame.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We loved unpacking this time capsule with you.
Keep questioning the mechanics behind what you see on your feed, and we'll catch you next time.